Shields up, Earnbreakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Monster Hunter World Iceborne, and today I'm here to bring you guys my hammer crash course. Now I understand that a lot of people turn towards the hammer because they believe it is the king of KO. So the best way to ensure that you get KOs on monsters, and also the best way to ensure that you break their heads. But to be quite frank, this is quite simply not the case. The best weapon for doing that is actually the heavy bowgun with sticky ammunition level 3. However, that doesn't mean that the hammer is still not a tremendously fun and effective weapon, because at the end of the day, there is a reason why our Lord and Savior Ryozu himself uses the hammer. So anyway, let's get started. What is hammer all about? It is still about bashing face and breaking heads and doing all of that good stuff and having a good time doing it. Now, when you draw your hammer, it's going to look something like this. This is wrong. Okay, whenever you draw your hammer, you want to make sure that you charge your hammer up. And the way that you charge your hammer is you press R2 and circle. That is going to give you a charge up, and as you can see, your hammer is going to be all glowy and stuff now. Now, an important thing about doing this is that you might not always want to perform that startup attack when you're charging up your hammer. Okay, now you can hold that attack if you want to and instantly go into a charged attack, which I haven't even brought up, but it is important because charging the hammer, I think, is one of the most important things about the hammer. You must ensure that your hammer is charged at all times. Now, if you want to hold that charge, you can keep R2 pressed after pressing circle, and you will hold that charge and you can move around, and then you can go on to do a charge attack. Another way to go about it is if you just want to preemptively charge up your hammer without necessarily performing an attack, you can basically roll to avoid the attack animation. So you can go R2 circle, and then press X, and then let go, and you will be fine. You'll have a charged hammer, you're good to go, you get to do whatever other combo you want to do. So keep that in mind. Charging a hammer, R2 plus circle, always try to do this. It is important to mention that anything that hits you or flinches you will instantly remove your the power state of your hammer. This means any longsword user that smacks you, any charge blade user that staggers you, any monster that roars at you or swipes at you, anything that so much as touches you and causes your character to go into a flinch state is going to cause you to lose your buff, and you'll be right back at this. But the good news is that you can just rebuff immediately after. So as you can imagine, this is going to be something that you will be doing quite often, because whenever you are hitting the monsters, you want to ensure that you get your hammer charge. So now let's talk about your basic combos. We start with your triangle combo, which is quite simple. You got 2 overhead smashes followed by the golf swing, which is a pretty beastly combo. It does some damage. However, it can't hold a candle to your other combo, which is the Big Bang, where you just spam circle like nobody's business. And this is one of the best ways to deal damage on a downed monster. So you want to make sure that you do that. If the monster is down, you just go up to it, just spam circle, boom, boom, just like non-stop, and you will crush its skull into a little fine paste, which you can then use to make a funny hat if needed be. But anyways, those are your 2 very basic combos. But the thing about the hammer is not just performing those basic combos naturally. The hammer is all about doing charge attacks. However, due to the fact that charge attacks change depending on whether or not the hammer is charged, I'll show you what it looks like without the hammer actually being charged, right? Okay, so if you press R2, you're going to start charging. If you let go, you're going to do an attack. So this is your regular attack. This is the same whether the hammer is charged or not. And then we have your second attack. This is also the same whether your hammer is charged or not. And then finally we have the third attack, which is you hold it all the way, you charge it 3 times. Then when you release, your character starts spinning around if you have an input animation, and then you guys are like, what do you mean an input animation? I mean if you are moving while you are holding down your charged button. If you are moving, your character will do this. This is the spinning bludgeon, okay? However, if you are not moving when you release that third attack, your hammer will do this instead, okay? So this is very important in case you guys are trying to do the moves that I'm doing here and you guys are like, oh, my dude just keeps spinning. The reason he is spinning is because you are inputting a movement on your left analog stick, or if you're playing eventually mouse and keyboard, you might be inputting a direction onto your keyboard, and your character is going to end up doing this. Now, there are several ways of exiting that state. By the way, I want to show you guys what it looks like when it's charged up. So, when it's charged up, your tier 1 looks like this, which is the exact same like I told you. Your tier 2 looks like this. also the exact same like I told you, but it will deal more damage, also more KO damage. And then finally your tier 3, if you don't input any animation, is going to look like this. Now this attack is pretty beastly. You want to do this attack often because it's fun, but also because it's pretty beastly. But anyway, now when you are spinning uncontrollably, you can exit instantly from that spin by pressing triangle. However, you might not want to exit right away. You might want to let it spin a couple of times, and then you get a different exit, which is this one. This one's also very nice, deals a lot of damage, but there's still a third exit if you let it spin even a little bit longer. The big old golf swing. So the longer you let it spin and then you exit by pressing triangle, you're going to get a different animation. Now, why is this particular attack important? Because you might want to play around with status elements or maybe even a little bit of elemental damage, and this attack will get you a couple of more status procs potentially if you're playing around with para, stuff like that. Personally, I tend to go a lot for raw damage, so I don't tend to do that particular attack often, unless I make a mistake, which also happens a lot of times. But don't worry your pretty little head about it. If you're making a mistake and you want to cancel out of it, just press that triangle, get out of it instantly. Now, it is important to mention that your charge attacks now have follow-ups. So for instance, if you do a charge attack 1, you're not really going to have a Clutch Claw follow-up with this one. But if you charge it up to level 2, you'll be able to follow up with a Clutch Claw attack by pressing L2. And this is going to give you a Clutch Claw mount. Now, I know that I haven't gotten into Clutch Claw just yet, but this is important as it is very well integrated with your charge attacks in the hammer in Iceborne. So, if you charge up to level 2, and then you press L2, you get a Clutch Claw attack. Okay? And from this Clutch Claw attack, you can slap the monster around, you can shoot your slinger. You can do all of the usual stuff that you can do from a Clutch Claw attack, okay? Now, the cool thing about this particular follow-up is that if you do it after a tier 3, then you're talking, because you're going to get the spinning bludgeon attack upwards into the monster, like so. Whee! See, that is way cooler, am I right? And then you can finish that off by tenderizing that particular part, which is usually going to be the head, at which point you can proceed to punish the head a little bit harder because, you know, the hammer is classified as a heavy weapon. So if you do a Clutch Claw attack and then you tenderize the head, you're going to weaken it, and then that is going to make it so that your tenderizer increases its affinity to 50%, and you're also going to deal additional damage on the head. You can also tenderize other body parts naturally, just like any other weapon, but it's just a cool thing to keep in mind. And also, if you guys noticed, you don't actually have to hit the monster to do the Clutch Claw follow-up, so I can, like, do the third attack here, and then do a Clutch Claw follow-up, and still hit the monster. So it's a very forgiving follow-up attack that you can do with this, okay? Another thing that's also new to Iceborne is that you can now Slinger Burst whenever you have your hammer charged. So naturally, whenever you have your hammer out, just like any other weapon, you can basically fire off slinger rounds if you want to, just like regular slinger shots. However, if you are charging your hammer, like so, you can fire Slinger Bursts. Now, Slinger Bursts are really cool because they give you openings on monsters. So a lot of the times you'll be able to get off a cheeky Slinger Burst, and then you'll get an opening to do this, which you can then follow up with a clutch attack, which you can then punish with a tenderize attack to the face, and it is just downright glorious. So keep that in mind. If you happen to come across any good Slinger ammunition, you want to make sure that you use it to your advantage. It is particularly useful when the monster's not giving you a lot of openings. You know, you'll find that one of these bad boys right here, just a little Slinger Burst, is going to give you the openings that you want. Now, another thing that you might have noticed is that Slinger Burst doesn't actually consume your charge. So, for instance, if you're charged level 3, like this, and then you use Slinger Burst, the attack that comes off is still the level 3, so there is no punish for interrupting your attacks to weave in a Slinger Burst in between, which is pretty freaking cool if you ask me. So now let's talk about combos for when a monster gets down, right? Like I told you earlier, using your Big Bang combo is the best way to go about it, right? Just go up to the monster, start smacking him in the face, and you're going to deal a ton of damage. But the thing is, you don't always have enough time for an opening as big as the Big Bang. So sometimes a monster might go down, a monster might flinch, and you're not going to have as much time to actually go ahead and deal damage. Well, there's another really cool combo that you should keep in mind, which is your R2 into triangle. So basically, if you don't even charge your R2, right, and you just tap it, you get this attack. Now, this attack has a really cool follow-up, which is the triangle combo. So you can go from this attack into your triangle combo, like so, and you're gonna do a massive slap. It's like the hammer's backhand, right? You just go like, my pimp hand, bam! Just like that, and that does a lot of damage, particularly if you're able to land that in the head. That's gonna be a lot of KO damage right there. But the cool thing is, the combo doesn't end there. You can keep going, so you can go R2 into triangle, and then you can spam triangle, and that's gonna go back into your basic combo of the 2 overhead smashes and the golf swing. So that's a really good combo for a quick opening in case, you think that you're not going to have enough time to actually go for the Big Bang. Because there's a very important thing about the Big Bang, and that is the fact that you actually have to hit your target to continue the combo. So for instance, if I'm not hitting anything, boof, you can't continue the Big Bang. The Big Bang requires you to actually hit your target in order to continue doing the attack. So if you think the monster is going to move midway through your combo, the Big Bang is most definitely not your best option. However, unlike the Big Bang, your triangle combo does not require a target to be there. So you can continue on with the combo regardless of what is happening. This also applies to the R2 into triangle. So you can do this combo without actually having a target to hit. This means, whenever you have those monsters like Kushala the Aura, for instance, who likes to wiggle his head all over the friggin' place for some strange reason, like he's got some kind of ADHD or some shit. Whenever he goes down, he just starts squirming all over the place. I hate that. I friggin' hate it. But anyway, if you're dealing with a monster like that and you feel like you're going to miss your Big Bang combo, then you're just going to go ahead and you're going to do the triangle combo instead. Now, you can also go from the R2 into the Big Bang. And why would this be useful, you might be wondering? Well, suppose, for instance, you just finished mounting a monster, right? You mount the monster. After you mount the monster, you give him your big KO attack, and then your character jumps off, and your weapon is sheathed. At the end of a mount, your weapon is always sheathed. And now you guys wonder, okay, then I definitely want to go straight into the Big Bang, right? Well, yeah, you can draw with triangle and then go into Big Bang, but you didn't charge your hammer. Right? You didn't charge your hammer at that point, and you want to have a charged hammer so you can draw into triangle, and then you can charge your hammer, and then you're going to do this, and then you're going to spam circle, and eventually you get into Big Bang. Not particularly effective, am I right? So what do you want to do in that situation? Well, in that situation, you want to go ahead, right? You finish your mount, you're off the monster, you run back to where the monster is, press R2, charge up your hammer, let go, press triangle, and then spam circle, and it goes into Big Bang. So that is pretty long combo, potentially one of the longest combos with the hammer, but this is like your biggest damage potential, okay? Just remember, you need your target to actually, you need to actually hit your target with these attacks, otherwise Big Bangs are gonna get interrupted, am I right? So, let me show you guys that again, in case you guys didn't get that right. So, you finish your mount, you jumped off the monster, your weapon is sheathed, right? You usually end up at a distance something like this after a mount, depending on how well the mount went, depending on walls, depending on a lot of factors, but usually I would say this is a reasonable distance. First thing you're going to do, run up to the monster. Second thing, draw your hammer, charge your hammer, and you can do this in one quick motion, right? You just press R2 and circle. Hammer is charged, okay? Now, there's also the option that you just want to do like a level 3 charge. If you want to do that, you can do that too, right? You go up to the monster. Okay, I just want to hit a level 3 charge because I need to weaken the head or something. Okay, you do this, and then you follow it up with a clutch claw. Bam, and then you get your opening to weaken the monster, right? That's another way to do it. But, like I said, to go into the Big Bang, what do? R2 into circle, go in there, let go, triangle, circle, circle, and just spam it, right? And you go into your Big Bang. But if you think the window of opportunity is not going to be big enough, then don't go into the Big Bang attack, right? Instead of it, you run up to the monster. R2, circle, triangle, and then spam triangle. That's going to give you a tighter opening. So it depends on how long you're going to have to hit the monster. And I know that I'm harping on these two combos particularly a lot because these are potentially some of the most important things for you to do with the hammer as far as I'm concerned, which is pick which combo you're going to use. You're going to have to look at the state the monster is in and figure out, okay, do I think that I'm going to have a big opening or am I going to have a smaller opening? With the smaller opening, you go with your R2, your triangle, you get your surefire way to get your combos in. But if you think the opening's going to be big enough, then you go for your R2 into circle, into triangle, and then you spam. Actually, I messed that up. R2 into circle, into triangle, and then you're going to spam your circle, and that is going to give you your big bang. Now, throughout all of these things, I've mentioned the level 3 charge attack and the level 1 charge attack, which is you use the level 1 to just kind of like go into your other combos and use the level 3 to actually, apply a quick burst of damage and then follow it up with the clutch claw so that you can mount the monster with your clutch and then follow it up with a tenderizer move. However, one of the combos that I haven't mentioned all that much is your tier 2. Now, the tier 2 is a bit of a gap closer because you'll notice that it moves you quite a bit. If you charge up to level 2, notice how much your character actually moves. So you can use this to charge into the monster, and you can follow that into Big Bang. But from a position standpoint, it can be a bit of a nightmare sometimes, because sometimes you might think, oh, I'm going to hit it just right, and you end up not doing it. The most surefire way of landing your Big Bang from a charge is, the R2 into triangle into Big Bang spam. But if you want to go from your tier 2 charge into the Big Bang, you can do that too. Just like I told you. You can also use the tier 2 gap closer to do your triangle combo. It's going to give you that little side smash right there into the overhead smash into the golf swing. Again, it's always about the timing. If you think you don't have that much time, you want to go for your triangle combo. If you think that you have more time, you want to go for your circle combo. Just bear in mind that you have to actually hit a target with it. So now let's talk about aerial. Just like every other weapon, you can run off a ledge and then press triangle, and the hammer is going to do an aerial attack. However, this is not the aerial attack that you want to do with the hammer. As far as I'm concerned, this right here, completely and utterly useless. What you want to do with the hammer is you want to jump off and you want to slam down their face. Boom, like that. Because you can actually charge it up, and depending on how high you're jumping from, you can charge it up more or less. And the advantage of using this attack is, as you can see, there's a little hop that you do after you jump, which gives you a little bit more distance, which is pretty damn sweet in my opinion. You can also jump with a charged hammer if you want to, and the way you do this is you preemptively charge up your hammer before you jump, and then you just roll off the side, and then you can still do a charged attack with it. You can immediately roll up the ledge again and do this again, and you can kind of abuse ledges this way if you want to. This is particularly useful if you have a flight decoration, because it's going to increase your aerial damage by 30%. And even though the greatsword was greatly nerfed in aerial damage, in my opinion, the hammer was not. So it's still very much viable for hammer users. I mean, I think it's still viable for greatsword users as well, but in my opinion, hammer users benefit quite a bit more from the flight decoration than greatsword, and it's pretty friggin' sweet. But anyway, this is your most basic aerial move. Then there's also the sliding attack. Now, you can also do this by charging up your hammer, and then you just run down a hill, and then you release, and you're going to do the midair spinning bludgeon, which, as we all know, it's a fantastic move. We've had this move back in Monster Hunter World. It's really cool. You can also follow up on this move, though. So, you can follow up with your triangle combo if you want to. You're going to do an overhead smash followed by the golf swing, or you can follow up with a clutch claw attack. Very much like your tier 3 charged attack and your tier 2s and whatever. You can follow this up by, at the end of it, you press L2, he throws the clutch, and if you hit a monster, you're going to clutch onto the monster, and you're going to basically grab onto it, and you get a clutch mount. And then finally, there's also the wall jump, which every weapon has it. And with the hammer, as you can imagine, it's fairly simple. You just run to the wall while charging your hammer, and then you do that. all of these aerial attacks benefit from the flight decoration naturally, and it's just a whole lot of fun because it's a lot of hits. Now, these attacks are not going to be like your big damage dealers, but they will allow you to mount the monster. They will allow you to hit the monster while it's maybe flying or doing something silly. They'll allow you to CC the monster a little bit, and they'll give you a couple of options while you're out in the middle of a hunt, instead of just, you know, being forced into your basic moves of like, oh, I gotta hit him and I gotta do this and this. Maybe the monster's moving too much. Basically just keeping your options open throughout the entirety of the hunt. Now, as you start practicing these moves, one of the things that you will notice is that both the Big Bang finisher as well as the level 3 charge have some pretty extensive recovery animations. Like this one for the tier 3 charge, and then this one for the Big Bang. Let me just go through the motions here. The Big Bang. Look at that recovery animation. It's like years, right? So, two options that you have right here. You can either follow up on those attacks with another charged attack in order to stay on the offensive, or if you want to just like move away from the monster, you want to recover and not really commit to further attacks, you roll away from them. So, to give you guys an idea, I'll show you guys what the rolling looks like. Immediately after you do this, spam X, your character will roll out of that particular animation. Same thing for the Big Bang. If you go for the Big Bang all the way, and then you end the Big Bang successfully, hopefully, you can spam X, your character rolls away before the entirety of the animation goes through. Another thing that you can do, like I said, is you can go right back into another charge attack. So you can do this, and then follow that up with another charge attack, maybe something a little bit faster, like this one. Basically just spam R2, and it'll get you there. And the same thing goes for the charged Big Bang. One of the things about the hammer is that usually after each attack, you want to try and roll away, right? You usually want to try to roll away to get yourself in a better position because monsters don't stand still like our little target buddy here. And that's pretty much it when it comes to the hammer. It's all about the timing, figuring out if you have a long window of opportunity to go for your Big Bang or if you have a smaller window of opportunity to go for your Golf Swing. That's kind of like the essence of it. And naturally, you know, constantly tenderize the head. If you are a hammer user, there's no excuse at any point in time for the monster's head to not be tenderized. That is literally your job, okay? If you are not tenderizing the monster head, you are doing something wrong. Like every time there's a hammer user on a party, that monster head should never be not tenderized because you have so many friggin' good tools to do it. So go forth, my hammer-wielding hammer breakers, and show the world that you can crack skulls and KO's monsters like nobody's business. Mathematically speaking, the heavy bowguns might be better, but you are stronger, and let nobody else tell you otherwise. Thank you all very much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit it up with a like if it helped you in any way. If you guys usually enjoy my content, subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, all of that good stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, and may your shields never break.